especially with what we came to hear about your experience during the invasion of Turks, and you worked in the front line. So can you please help us to know about the invasion and the challenge that made to the Orthodox Church in Cyprus?
Well, the invasion happened after a tumultuous time in Cyprus, which was primarily around the person of Makarios that you mentioned to me earlier. And what happened is that the church was divided over the person of Makarios and his service as archbishop and president together in violation of the canons of the church. So I experienced the division and the conflict for about 2 years, basically, or even more, and then there was a military coup against Makarios, which was generated from the government of Greece to the military in Cyprus, in order to replace him. And behind all of that, there was the State Department of America and Kissinger. Kissinger was very instrumental in all of that, and that gave Turkey an opportunity, and they invaded in order to, as they claimed, to protect the Turkish Cypriots from the Greek Cypriots. And so they landed on the northern coast and began the invasion, which during that time, those first 3 days, I found myself on the front line. I was not a soldier yet. I was not drafted. I was still in school, but I was helping soldiers that were in the front, and I experienced a lot of things there. But the most serious one of those was the bombing that the Turkish airplanes will engage in, and hitting us wherever they thought that we were, and then hitting the village where I came from with rockets and napalm bombs. One of the napalm bombs actually fell in our backyard, and my mother and my sister were alone in the house at the time, and they were both very scared. And my sister, even after so many years, whenever she hears a plane, she, her heart begins to beat faster, because that was a traumatic experience for her. She was only 11 at the time. Then I came back home after the 3 days when there was a ceasefire before the second invasion wave began, when they forced us out of our homes. I came home and went into the backyard where the bomb fell. It was a napalm bomb. It burned everything that was out there, a lot of lumber, and the shell was still there. And unfortunately, I was stunned to see the label on the shell, which said U.S. Air Force. So it was like America was bombing us. Of course, I knew that was not the case, but this is American military aid to Turkey that was utilized by the Turks to attack Cyprus. And although napalm bombs were forbidden and made illegal to use, they were using them on us. So that was the initial experience, the very initial experience. And then, of course, the second wave began about 3 weeks later, and the tanks broke through the plains, and they came toward us, and they kept shelling us, and we we had to leave. We got the warning that we need to leave the military, whatever soldiers we had there, they left. So we followed them, and we never were able to go back. And when I returned 30 years later, after they opened the border, I went and saw that the village was turned into a military base. Our homes, some of them were made into military residences. Some of them were some of them were completely demolished. And the church where I grew up, which really shaped me and where I shaped spiritually, was bombed, and the dome fell in, and we learned stories from those who remained that they had taken the icons and thrown them into the streets, and they're using them as tables to play cards on, and they stole all the whatever silver items or whatever there was of any value. They took it, and and the church is destroyed. If you watch the video that we're going to put out in the next few weeks of the second visit I had in the last couple of years, we go there and with my son, and we see the church, and we go around it, and then soldiers come and basically chase us out because we were not allowed to go into the church area. It's surrounded by barbed wire, and they don't allow anybody to get in. Of course, the church is destroyed. It fell in. It's made out of stone, limestone, sandstone rather, and it's going to be hard to rebuild if they ever allow such a thing. Anyway, we visited also many other churches. In the first video we did on the Zion films about Cyprus, we visited a lot of churches and cemeteries, and the cemetery, not only the churches are destroyed or abandoned or turned into mosques, but the cemeteries are damaged, crosses are broken. Some reason, and I went to my home town cemetery as well, and all the crosses were removed and thrown into a big pile. So there is a kind of a hatred of the cross, I believe. They can't stand the cross on the churches. They move the crosses everywhere. So it's very interesting behavior that they showed with regard to churches, and there are hundreds of churches that were either destroyed, turned into storage rooms, or turned into animal shelters. They have been most of them abandoned. The icons were ripped off and sold or collected somewhere or thrown away or whatever. I'm not quite sure. Every case is different, I guess. And and there is this desecration of holy places, Christian holy places, desecration of graves, and unbelievable behavior from people that want to be Europeans and want to be civilized, which really saddens me that we were the ones who had to actually go through this. Yeah, and to see that people like that exist.
Okay. So you have mentioned about that second part. You said today we saw that the Dragan Films has announced that the next part is going to be published soon.